Button on me. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. This is our monthly regional abatement or opioid settlement fund regional abatement monthly meeting.
Yep.
Good to see everybody and have you on. I hope that your summer's off to a good start. For today, I believe that we have just a couple of things to check in on. And Kristen, you're going to have to help me out here because I am having difficulty connecting. I'm trying to get back on with my laptop right now. But in terms of the regional abatement reporting, drum roll please. Kristen, can you tell us what our reporting numbers are for each group within the regional abatement?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to. Good news, things are going awesome. We really appreciate you guys submitting and always be on top of things. It's great. So right now we're at 56 out of 57 LGUs, 19 out of 21 of the other litigating entities, and 3 out of 5 of our 5 large cities, with a grand total of 78 out of 83. So we're super close to 100%. So if you haven't submitted, if you could do it as soon as possible, that'd be great. So we can get to that 100% and everyone have no problem getting their funding for next year when it comes out.
Yeah.
So thank you again. We really appreciate your patience and the phone calls and the questions. Always appreciate that. So thank you, everybody.
And I just want to mention that the compliance, everyone's effort to get the reports in is just so much appreciated. And I'm experiencing participation in audits like I never have before in my state career. And it's really great when, OSC in conducting their audit of opioid settlement funds asked for information around regional abatement, and to be able to say we have 100% compliance with reporting for regional abatement in our previous years is a beautiful thing, I think. So thank you, everybody, for your effort in getting those reports in. So if you are the one LGU, or if you are one of the 2 other litigating entities or one of the 2 large cities who haven't submitted your report yet, your team, that is everyone on this call in this meeting here, is cheering you on and encouraging you to get those in as soon as you can. I know we set a deadline, after when we send out the link, and ultimately we need to hear from all of you, certainly before November 1st, but I don't want ever to wait that long, right? And that's why we start our process in the spring, so we can be sure we get all the reports in. So let's encourage those 5 entities to please get your reports in so we reach our 100% compliance for the 2025 reporting year for regional abatement. Continuing with the theme of reporting, know that we have received information from our partner at the Attorney General's office with regard to amounts that were dispersed for the direct share. I know that not all of you are responsible or have taken on the direct share reporting for your county or entity, but some of you have, and you've been super helpful too in helping us identify and connect with reporters for that direct share funding. So know that we have prepared the direct share report. We expect that we will be sending the link for the direct share reporting within the next week or so. Kristen, I think we're pretty confident saying that. Well, of course, use the contacts that we have, and we update all the time based on information we get from you, based on information we get from the AG's office. So we'll be getting those out. We will keep you apprised as to the numbers as they're coming in. Certainly, we ask that you encourage your colleagues who are in receipt of that direct share report request to complete it and get it in. I also want to say that with the statute that was put in place last year that requires entities to make publicly available the information on their use of direct share. There was a question, oh, should we still do the collect the report for the direct share? Do we have to, if entities have to make the information publicly available? And landed that we do want to do both, right? So statute does require that, the county make the information publicly available. Many counties shared links to the website, which we post on our website. We are going to maintain the direct share reporting as well. And that is an opportunity for entities to update their link to the publicly shared information, or if it's posted somewhere, whatever that information is on how you're making it publicly available. There's room to include that in the report the report request we send out. So questions, comments on either the regional abatement reporting or the direct share reporting? I'm just going to look for hands. Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in. Jean Marie turned her camera on. Ariella, Tammy, hi, I can see you. Questions, comments? Did I say hi to you, Barbara? I'm not sure if I did or not. Hi, Barbara's got her camera on. All right, I'm not hearing any comments. Is there anything in the chat? Anybody posting questions in the chat? Okay.
I don't see any, Connie.
Okay. Did we have other agenda items, Kristen?
I think that's the two main things, unless there were some other announcements you wanted to bring up, but that's what we had for our main comments for right now.
Days are getting shorter already, so I hope you guys are enjoying all those minutes out there. I know, sorry, Carrie, it's true. I'm just saying, you don't realize it happens so fast. I know. But the good thing about that is it makes you realize that the days get longer in the winter, like faster than, you're getting more time in the winter when it feels like it's short and awful. It's really getting better and it's good.
Stop. Save yourself.
All right, never mind. I hope everyone's enjoying the weather, the sunny, long days that we have this time of year. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. Any outstanding questions or concerns people have with regard to opioid settlement? Once reporting's in, and the budget is set, so we will be, we know appropriations and we'll be preparing to get payments out later this summer. I think we usually send payments like August, September, I think is around when we've sent them in the past years. So your dollars from fiscal year 27 is what I'm referring to, will be arriving in a few months. So get ready for more. Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Board meeting is on Tuesday, June 30th. So encourage everyone to tune in, and always encourage you to provide public comment. So if you are near a location or have words that you want to share in terms of the use of your dollars, how you're evaluating or how you're making information available, or any of that, know that you are always invited to participate in the public comment at any of these meetings. Any other questions, concerns, anything folks want to talk about? Oh, Sharon has her hand up.
Hi, quick question. Was on some different meetings this week. We're getting ready to put an RFP out with the county for a rather large to try to get these funds out the door. On the contracting side, I'm getting a lot of questions from concerned providers wanting to make sure there's details in the contracts, and our county would like to know, is there like any updated contractual definitions that OASAS would recommend
Oh,
for this abatement pot of money?
So no, in that, my inner Debbie Davis will say that the county should be following your standard procurement, contracting, payment, any existing policies and procedures that you have in place around the disbursement of dollars is what you should do with regard to the regional abatement funding as well.
Okay, I guess I was just wondering with some of the recent audits that have been going around about the abatement money and some of the updates, I just wondered if there was any, updated clarity of, audit reporting, and some of the stuff that we hear is going on, and if there was any, clarity from some of that from OASAS.
Well, what do you hear that's going on?
Well, just that some of the audits are going around for different counties, so it's just kind of wondering if there was any, any updates that would make, from lessons learned from some of those.
Okay. No, that, so I gotcha. So in terms of of OASAS doing any audits of the regional abatement or of counties, and so I don't have any updates for you. I understand your question now, and I think it's a good one. I can say that, that Courtney Davis was in touch with OASAS. We did have a meeting, it feels like it was quite a while ago now, to talk about what was happening with the OSF audits, or for her to bring some concerns to the table. I have no update, as a result of that, but know that that information, was heard by OASAS. And I can also say, right now, I don't think that there is any, I can't say that either. I was going to say there is an activity happening right now on OSF audit out of our audit unit because of block grant audit and other things going on. But I'll check back with counsel's office to see if we have any additional feedback for you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Connie, I'll just add, just as for consideration moving forward, as we're having these conversations, Broome is one of the counties that's been audited so far. I think there's been a lot of really good information that's come out. So in regards to what maybe, while following policy and procedures, there's some nuances happened as far as how things have been done historically with state aid, with counties, that isn't quite fitting when we're getting these audits done, as far as accounting codes and definitions of things like supplanting and things like that. That is, OASAS is learning those things through the audit process and seeing some of those nuances that might not be our historical knowledge of how to manage those things. I think, to kind of piggyback on what Sharon was saying, if your team can kind of culminate some of those themes and things that we're seeing, because we had to really clarify supplanting with one of the lines that we had spent in our county, and we didn't see that as a traditional definition of supplanting, and had to kind of explain that to them because the auditor's definition of supplanting was different than ours. So we're waiting for the feedback on our explanation, but it's it just things that you're seeing. I think is an idea for OASAS to kind of merge those folks together and say, what are our themes to educate our providers on in our counties.
Okay. So given this conversation, and again, Courtney did bring us feedback. I'm wondering, would folks be willing to take a minute, even to shoot me an email to say, for those who've been through the process, to say these were the issues, or this is what, to your point, Sarah, this is where the audit, a state aid audit, or the questions we asked through a state aid audit don't fit and didn't work in this instance, or this is where we had challenges in understanding the ask. I will say that I believe one of the things you were asked for policies and procedures on the use of the regional abatement funds, and many folks were like, were we supposed to have policies and procedures? Because that was never an instruction, right? And so there were areas like that where there was a disconnect. So if you guys don't mind, like, doing a quick little bulleted list, hey, this is what they were for, in my experience, Connie, and sending those, I can make sure that I circle back with counsel's office and the audit unit on that before they move forward with additional ones.
Honey, this is Laura. That information would be exceedingly helpful. we don't have specific policies as it relates to the opiate settlement funds because we're required to follow the county's procurement rules. And so that's what we continue to reflect back is, but we follow the county procurement rules.
Mhm.
So it just feels like it's adding a layer of creating a policy for the purpose of creating a policy.
Yeah,
When my policy should just simply say, see procurement rules.
exactly.
attached.
No, exactly, exactly. So to the extent that you guys can provide feedback, I can reach out to council's office and discuss this and try and um uh create opportunity for a more smooth process in the future. So I will try to help with that. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if I can help, I will, you guys. Anything else?
Yeah, hi, this is Barbara from Suffolk County. So I do have a quick question. So that we're still in some regard to the funding that we received. What is the drop dead deadline for use of these funds?
So Barbara, you're a special case because you did receive, Suffolk and Nassau did receive an amount of regional abatement money. Was it last year or the year before?
Mm-hmm.
And there is no drop dead date.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no drop dead date. Those dollars are yours to use as you see fit.
Thank you. That's important information.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I think that the same can be said for your direct share too, right? Or any dollars that you're getting directly from settlements. Other questions? There's OASAS. There's a question that just came in. Oh, in the chat.
Sorry.
Somebody unmute. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You can answer that question. I just wanted to share something.
Adam had his hand up. Yeah.
So there was a question if OASAS is conducting audits of the 5 big cities. And so I'm not privy to our sampling plan for the OSF audit, but they would be included. Anyone who is in receipt of the regional abatement dollars would be eligible for an audit, is my understanding. And I don't know who someone was going to talk.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. This is Adam from Albany.
Oh, Adam, hi.
Yeah. I just last week I attended the first National Opioid Settlement Conference that was held in Denver. And I just wanted to share one of the takeaways. Well, there's certainly things I'm sure I can do better, and New York State can do better, and OASAS can do better. We are in a much better position than a lot of states where there are no restrictions on supplantation, where there's a bulk of the funds going to law enforcement. We heard from one city where they had already, committed a bulk of their money to a set of providers before they even set up an advisory committee. So they were like, okay, well, now what are we managing? You've already told all these folks they're getting money. So, I think we all, can keep working towards improvement, but it was really, nice to hear like, well, at least we aren't facing that challenge. And every state is doing this differently. So just wanted to share that.
No, thanks, Adam. I was aware of the conference. That's great that you were able to attend, and also, great to hear that that we're doing well. I think when we're in the thick of it and facing all kinds of challenges around these dollars, you don't necessarily have that perspective. That take a step back and see, how everyone's doing across the board to know that you're doing well. So thank you for that. I am just scanning. I know Andrew Heck is on, our Associate Commissioner for Prime, and we have folks from, some folks from our Division of Fiscal Administration, and we also have our Joelle from Government Affairs. Any other OASAS folks want to say anything or have any comments? And it's okay if you don't. I'm putting you on the spot, just giving you an opportunity. All right. Okay, so last call, questions, comments, concerns. Oh, another question came in. Oh, how do you get an invite to that conference? It's actually it's open to anyone. I don't know, Liliana, what listserv I'm on to have gotten the information. Adam, how did you get the information about the conference?
Oh, I had just actually been like looking to see if there would be one, and I saw that pop up. But next year's conference will be June 15th to 17th in Tulsa. I don't expect to be going every year, but that will be the next one. It was run by this group called the Stedman Group. So you could probably just search, but it was also just called National Opioid Settlement Conference. So I think it was the only one there. So, you know, the only one that's being done, although I know NACO is having like a half-day session before their annual conference on opioid settlement, the National Association of Counties, but those are the only ones that I saw. So, but
I think NASHIP also has a conference. I think that might have been in Tennessee this past year. And we have state representatives going to that event annually as well.
okay.
Which conference was that one? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. In
NASHIP.
Tennessee? Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'd say it was a good experience. It was a good conference, and it was nice to connect with you know, other folks that are doing this work.
You don't want to go to Oklahoma?
I don't think the county's going to send me every.
Can I just, this is Tammy, Orange County. I was just going to make a comment, and Connie, if you remember, if I said it last month, then tell me. I don't need to make it, but in that settlement watch conversation that is circulating, there was a conversation about an approved list of non-approved uses. Does that make sense? Did I bring this up last month? Yeah. So it triggered for me that our law department keeps asking us for a list of uses that are not, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on the name.
So unallowable use of dollars?
Yeah. You know, what's unrestricted, excuse me, a list of unrestricted uses. And our response has been, but unrestricted means unrestricted, doesn't it? Now, we have not used unrestricted uses except for one thing in our county. But when this came up in that call, it made sense to me. There was a presenter, I guess, in the last one that talked about a list. And I see a few people shaking their heads, Sarah shaking her head. So it triggered for me, oh, that's probably where our law department was coming from. They're looking for, you know, definitive. And I'm like, okay, but unrestricted means unrestricted. And for us locally, we have our own challenges with being able to tap that money. But I'm just wondering if there's any conversation about that at the state level.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding, Tammy, you're talking about the use of the unrestricted direct share dollars? Okay. So no, I haven't heard of conversations. Certainly, I mean, Joelle, you may, if you have, I mean, please say something. Unrestricted is unrestricted. I mean, I know that's not helpful.
That's what we said.
But you can do, I mean, you can do whatever you want with that money.
Okay.
It is unrestricted. If you, I mean, if you wanted, I'm being facetious, you wanted, the county wanted to go buy a boat with it. I mean, the county could.
Don't give anybody any ideas, Connie.
I know. Well, I said I was being facetious, right? But like literally, there are no checks on those dollars.
Well, that is our take on it too. But of course, you know, so many chiefs at the table. And
So what I had heard about unrestricted dollars is that they can be used to reimburse expenses the county occurred due to an increase in addiction and overdose. And that's why you'll see police vehicles, because they can say, oh, we've responded to this many calls. we've put this many miles on our fleet, that equals a new car. So I know some counties have done it that way. I agree, unrestricted sounds unrestricted, but I have heard people using a justification of a reimbursement of services that the county already provided to reimburse.
Yeah, but so even thinking about the purchasing of vehicles so that emergency responders can respond to, incidents of overdose, that would be an allowable use with the restricted dollars. You wouldn't even need to tap unrestricted dollars for that. And Joelle, I know you're making, the nuance there is that it was a previous expenditure. So maybe that, that's why it would need to be the unrestricted dollars. But the settlement agreements, lay this out. And, there is information around this to the extent that you can understand, parse, the legalese of it.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, given the comment that Liliana put in the chat, she said that she was told by her legal department that direct shares are restricted and that we don't have a list of unrestricted uses. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that based on each settlement agreement that includes information about the direct share, there is a restricted and unrestricted portion. Based on settlement agreement, the percentage that's restricted versus unrestricted may vary, but each settlement agreement does specify that. And this is the first year, Kristen and Lucia will check me, that we have information from the Attorney General's office that clarifies how much of the money we're asking about with direct share is restricted versus unrestricted. So they are giving that to us so we can say to you, please report out on this $20,000 of restricted dollars. And yes, you also received, 40,000 in unrestricted. I'm making the numbers up, obviously. And we're not asking you about the unrestricted dollars. We are only asking about the restricted portion. Laura, I see your hand up, and I know Sarah, you have your hand up too. So Laura first.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up, Connie. You mentioned an example of purchasing a vehicle, law enforcement, so that they have the ability to respond to overdoses. Is that vehicle then restricted to that purpose?
Oh, I'm not.
Or can it be used for? Okay.
I probably overstepped already. I went, and even providing the example. So Laura, I would encourage you to, confer with your council, your local council, on that.
I think that's why they may have done it as a reimbursement to say that we've already, over the course of this number of years, our fleet had to travel X number of miles. That mileage equals the vehicle, so we should get a vehicle, and then that vehicle can act as a normal part of the fleet.
Gotcha. We would check with our council's office. Thank you.
Sarah?
I'm going to go back to Tammy's original comment, and I was on the call when the presentation was made. The concept that is come to the table is that there are 6 states in our nation that have their state has created a policy so that whether restricted, unrestricted, AG funds, LG funds, no matter what the category is, that as a state they've taken a stance that purchasing bullets is not something that you can use with opioid settlement funds. Purchasing, so they've created a policy with a list of items the state is saying that no one across the state can use to purchase certain things that they can't purchase with opioid settlement funds, no matter the category. I think the advocates are really talking about that from the perspective of there have been, and I think the comment was made earlier, Adam said, there are states that are in tough shape with some of this stuff, right? And there are purchases that are made that are really, again, unrestricted. But the purpose of the funds was really to help abate overdose. And so advocates are encouraging state entities to create policy around items that the state itself doesn't consider to be good use of funds. And I think that, to Tammy's question, is, are there conversations in New York State about saying, hey, we really want to take a kind of a stance on what some of these things could and couldn't be. If vehicles are one of those things, then vehicles are one of those things. But ultimately, these states have really stepped up and said, no, you can't make these purchases with these funds, no matter what lane of the funds you have. And that was the discussion. So
Thank you, Sarah. Much better summarized.
That's interesting. So I wasn't aware of that. And I think that's interesting. I have not heard, or to my knowledge, there haven't been discussions along those lines. I would expect that conversation to be driven by advocates and folks in the public realm, as opposed to from a state agency necessarily. Interesting.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I also, like Adam, and I'm sure everybody on this call, I try to follow as many things as I can follow. We definitely want to have our finger on the pulse of what's happening in other states. How are these things unfolding? I mean, generally speaking, you're not going to be held to a standard until a certain point of time, right? So like anything that you purchased last year, you can't be held to that standard for last year if they institute the policy this year. That being said, there are a lot of watchdog groups that are making lists about things that they think are shameful to spend money on and things that they think are appropriate to spend money on, right? So it is a good practice, I think, to pay attention to those things. And just like your reporting requirement on restricted direct share came well after the first dollar was received, there's nothing to say that advocates won't lobby hard to find out how the unrestricted dollars are being spent eventually in the future. So I think Connie can tell you my whole life philosophy is protect thy future self, right? Like, as much as you can think about what might come in the future, and who might ask you how you decided how to spend the money, where you spent the money. And I like to say to people, like, just because it says unrestricted doesn't mean you shouldn't spend it on opioid abatement, right? Like, this is all part of trying not to be the tobacco settlement, right? And I think we take that responsibility seriously. Like Adam said, we do want to come out on the right side of this when it's all said and done, that we did this one better than the tobacco settlement. So, I think those are all, like Connie's saying, conversations you have to have at the local level, because once those dollars come to you, they're your dollars. And these are your policies and your processes that, as you're finding out, will be under a microscope. So I agree, Sarah. I have seen those lists coming up. The issue is, when we start to make very specific lists, and then very specific, looking into has to happen, versus what's in the settlement agreements are those broad categories. So, as long as you're always referring back to the documents that you have in hand, I think that's safe, and having a process and writing it all down, but we cannot know what people are going to ask us in the future. So I would just say consider that as folks make spending decisions.
I also am wondering, and I know Andrew's on, I don't know if you would want to comment. I mean, if the state were to decide to say certain things were not allowable expenses with the OSF, that would require like a change in statute as those dollars flow as state aid. And just thinking with mental hygiene law, what it would take for something like that to happen in New York State. I don't know, Andrew, if you're always more read in on statute and legal stuff than I am, and I don't see counsel's office on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, there's the different pots of funds. So I know even for the regional abatement, that was designated for regions, and then we, at OASAS, distributed to LGUs. So I don't know how much leeway there would be anywhere, like there's, you know, steps all along the process. There's the settlement, there's the legislation, and there's the policy decision, and where I don't know where those things can supersede each other.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if something like that does come up, or, you know, perhaps even come up at the board meeting, on Tuesday. And so just a reminder to folks that our fiscal year 27 budget passed. So there are appropriations, and OASAS will be preparing to get your regional abatement payments out to you towards the end of the summer. That is when we typically have sent them. In, you know, past years it was, I think, August, early September that we got them out. So know that that will be happening. And I was just thinking, I know that DOB has provided the tables with like anticipated appropriations over multiple years. And I'm not remembering off the top of my head the amount for regional abatement in fiscal year 27, but that information is available in the public sphere somewhere. If not in my head right now. But we'll have more information for you on that at the next meeting for sure. Other questions, comments, curiosities? I see all these smiling faces. All right, so listen, I'm always happy to talk with you guys, to hear your comments and questions, input. It's great just to have an opportunity just to kind of all huddle together on all things OSF regional abatement, direct share maybe, and other. We'll plan to see you in a month. If you are on vacation between now and the next regional abatement meeting, I hope you have a great vacation and you really enjoy it. And everyone else, we still have sunshine and long days, so it's all good, even if we're not on vacation. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.